Well, hello, hello. This is the Views Expressed right here for the 28th of November, 2012. We have a lot to get through in such a short time, but that's okay. We hope to have a guest calling in at some point, and when they do, I'm so laid back here. I mean, they can call in anytime they want. I'm so laid back. It's because I feel that it's, having a regiment and all that. It's cool. I do my research. I got my stuff. I got, documents that I read. But I'm just so laid back, It's hump day. We're on the downside of the week. So Friday's coming. We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna enjoy. We're gonna enjoy our week. Hopefully. Hope y'all had a great week. And last week we had Thanksgiving and such. And I hope y'all had a great Thanksgiving with your family and friends. And a couple of little news items that I've read. People have sent me. Zig Ziglar, great motivational speaker and all of that. You may have heard of him. Has passed away at 86. And also Lorraine Warren of the paranormal arena is in the hospital and has gone through surgery. I'll follow up on that. If I find anything by the end of the show, I will relate that to you. So keep that in mind. She is in the hospital. But hopefully we will have a guest call in. And want to tell you it's Michael Vera from Late Night in the Midlands. Hopefully at some point. And like I said, I'm so laid back. It's, he can call in, half hour. I don't care, I got 2 hours. He can call in anytime. I don't mind. Friday, though, we have a guest, and that would be Angel Clark from The Angel Clark Show, radiofreedom.us, and her blogs over at sussexcountyangel.com. If you go to her show, it's 5 to 7 Eastern, and if you're in the chat room, tell Angel Clark that Reverend Wayne Pierce over at The Views Expressed sent you. She'll be here Friday for about a half hour. She'll be here. And there are just so many things going on. Go to Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook. The first picture you will see there will be of, as Jamie Foxx would call the president his Lord and Savior, President Obama. Big picture there says Executive Order 13603. And it says, at the time of the president's choosing, the federal government may take over all forms of energy, all forms of civil transportation, all usable water from all sources, all commodities and products that are capable of being ingested by either human beings or animals, health resources, including drugs, biological products, medical devices, materials, facilities, health supplies, services, and equipment, and induction, quote-unquote, induction of citizens into the military against their will. It's, yeah, if you click on that and read a little thing up here, it says, the person that put it up said, thanks, Paul Hubbard, for this. It's awful. It follows on from the Unpatriotic Act and even more heinous NDAA, yet though Obama is responsible for 2 of these declarations of war against his own people, I am convinced that that these are the last things he'd ever want to enact. So much for being president, huh? Well, we all know who controls Congress and the Senate. I'm afraid they control your president too. But anyway, Executive Order 13603. Now, let me put it to you this way. President Obama has signed within the last, or his first term as president, has signed over 300. Let me repeat that. 300 executive orders. Most of them are just, follow-ups and doing small things here and there. But several of them are hardcore. Congress didn't get this passed, and or Congress passed certain things that the president would have signed if certain things were in place, and yada, yada, yada. He sent all those bills back to Congress. They came back. He said, well, okay, screw you. I'm just signing an executive order making that, the Obamacare and all of these other things. Now, he's doing it with everything. Our waterways, our food, our health, our hospitals, our transportation, everything. Executive order, please go look this up, thank you. Executive Order 13603. Okay? All right? Now, I am all for I'm all for literally I'm all for doing what is right for the people when it is beneficial for the people. I'm all for that. Okay? I don't care if it's a government agency or if it's you and I or a charitable organization. I'm for doing what's right for the people if it benefits the people, period. That's it. Hands down. That's what I believe. But to have a president up there acting like not acting like, he is a dictator. Just signing, he's governing by edict. Go back and look that word up at dictionary.com. Edict, E-D-I-C-T. He's just signing executive order after executive order. Now, here's a little piece of information, though. I've noticed in some of the articles that I've read that even the Democrats, his own people, don't like the fact that he's doing this. And some of the Republicans have put forth things that they have compromised on. When the Democrats put forth a bill, they work across the aisle. Here it is, okay. And boom, okay, they spend months and weeks and whatever it is getting this thing, ironed out between themselves. And then they send it to the president's desk and the president doesn't sign it. Why? Oh, it's not to his liking. Really? What do you think he did with the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act? Okay? December 31st, 2011. What do you think he did? He didn't like the fact that Congress said, we'll take subsection 1021 and 1022 out, Mr. President, because that's against the American... And the president went, yeah, okay, no problem. So when it gets to his desk, he puts it back in, because he can do that. He put it back in and signed it and said, there you go. Yeah. Uh-huh. You get to the point in a society, in a society that is supposed to be governed by the people, you and I, to allowed this to happen. Okay? We allowed this to happen. Oh, full transparency here. When I first registered to vote, I was like 29. And because I was 18 and I'm like, none of these people know what they're doing anyway, so why should I register? But I was in Nevada at the time and I thought, I'll register, what the heck. So I registered it as a Democrat. And then I went, wait a minute, my mom and dad are hardcore Democrats. Why should I follow their lead? So 4 years later, this is when I think President Clinton had his second term. So I registered as a Republican, and then I started researching what they were doing. And I'm like, oh, I don't like this. So when I re-registered again as a nonpartisan and they put it down the register, put it down as independent. No, I'm not. I'm nonpartisan. I don't believe in any of the parties. I I resist being labeled, anywhere. So in this last election cycle, I thought, I'm not going to vote. I said that on my show. I'm not going to vote. I said it on this show many times. And then I thought, wait a minute. Resisting is, when you have the capability of resisting, doesn't mean that you just sit back and not do anything. It means that you go out and actively resist. And so I went and I'm not shy to say I voted for Gary Johnson. Why? Because it was my act of resistance to say, I don't like any of the candidates because they're both bought off by Goldman Sachs. Now President Obama wants to meet with Mitt Romney here next week for what? I don't know. So here's all this. It's convoluted. There's collusion involved in this, I believe. Yes, I'm charging this current administration, if you want to call it, with collusion, because that's what it is. They're in collusion with the bankers. They're in collusion with other people that really tell us, or are telling us, as if we're listening, to do certain things. For instance, the UN Small Arms Treaty, the Arms Trade Treaty. President Obama told the UN, get it to my desk. Congress told the president, you bring it into this house, we're tearing it up. So let's make a prediction here, shall we? I use that term loosely, prediction. I really think that once it goes to President Obama's desk, he's not going to take it to Congress. And he's going to sign an executive order or sign something, some directive, saying we are going to implement the Small Arms Treaty. You know what that means, folks? It's not about semi-automatic weapons. It's not about automatic weapons. By the way, if you carry a 9mm around or some sort of handgun that, you just cock it once and you can fire it multiple times, that's semi-automatic. What they're going to do is take that away from you. And since Congress is saying, no, what's going to happen, and I really see this coming, is that they're going to make it so impossible for you and I to buy ammunition that we got a gun. What are we going to do? Throw it at the enemy? What are we going to do? Throw it at the guy who broke into our house? No. So it's nuts. It really is. Paranormal Phil is in the chat room there on Spreaker. He does not have a show tonight. I saw that on Facebook. He does not have a show tonight. He will verify that with me here in just a moment. His show is PRT Paranormal Talk, 9 p.m. Pacific, 12 midnight Eastern on Spreaker.com, of course. And he'll have Open Line Friday. It's Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 9 p.m. Pacific. And it's a fantastic show. Go to prtparanormaltalk.weebly, weebly.com, and check out the site for more information. So it's awesome. He's got some things on that site too as well you might want to check out. So, So he says he just had a Black Hawk helicopter fly over his house, and it was heading for for landing at the local municipal airport. I would have taken a photo. By the time I got out there to take a picture, it was too far to get a good picture. By the way, speaking of pictures, Phil, the United States Supreme Court, the liberals up there, have said it is not against the law for us to film police doing their job. Okay? It is not against the law for you and I to film a police officer doing their job. If one pulls you over for something, and I know most of you are law-abiding citizens, you'll go the speed limit. But if they pull you over for some reason, take your cell phone out, turn on the camera, record them. They are going to be pissed, but the United States Supreme Court has said we have the right to film police, but don't interrupt them from doing their job. If they're, it's not like Cops, you know what I mean? You've seen that show, right? It's not like you got a camera right there while they're taking down a perpetrator. You know what I mean? You don't want to do that. That's impeding their job. So use common sense, really. But that's what the United States Supreme Court said. Yeah, Paranormal Phil said, yes, he's taking a break tonight. I did that last week. I took Thursday, Friday off. I just said, you know what? You got to take a break sometime. You just have to. But anyway, we will, I seriously think, and I'm going to be typing here as I talk, I seriously think that we need to hold not only our elected officials accountable and responsible for their actions, we need to hold our local officials, whether that be a judge, whether that be attorneys, whether that be police, sheriff, highway patrol, whatever. We need to hold them accountable. You know why? They took an oath to defend the Constitution. There's a video on Facebook. I didn't get it and I didn't download it, but I saw that there was a police officer who upheld the Constitution, and the police department is giving him a commendation for it. I think it was a TSA, or not a TSA agent. It was a police officer who went to the airport because the cops were called or whatever, and he literally stepped up and said, no, you TSA people are out of line. And he stood up for the Constitution. So the police department is giving him a commendation. And anyway, let me type something here. And I do believe that we need to hold them accountable because they, why not? Why can't we do that? You know what I mean? That's a good question. I'm going to throw that out to my listeners here. Why couldn't we hold, why can't we hold, why shouldn't we hold our elected officials and anyone else in government and in our local governing bodies, whether the police department, sheriff, whatever, courts, the whole nine yards, why shouldn't we hold them accountable? Why aren't we able to go into court? Let's just say we have something and we committed something like a traffic violation or whatever, and we got to go pay this. And by the way, you can go to court in front of a jury or in front of the judge to talk about your ticket or why you don't want to pay it. You can do that. Or if you want, you can call your local clerks over there at the courts in your city and find out more about that. But if you do get into a situation where you're facing the judge, why couldn't you just get there and go, you know what? I believe the police are nothing more than revenue generators, and I didn't do anything wrong, and you can check and all this. And why couldn't you do that? I'm holding you accountable for not holding up the Constitution or the Bill of Rights. Something like that. I mean, not that exactly, but you know what I mean. Why couldn't we hold them responsible? Why shouldn't we? That's a good question. Why shouldn't we hold them responsible? Anybody, the attorneys in town or the cops or whatever. Why shouldn't we? It's our right to do. They hold us accountable. They throw our butts in jail if we break the law. Why couldn't we do the same thing to them? By the way, you might want to check this in your areas, but certain states still have it on the books that we can I want to say implement. I don't think that's the right word. We can have a citizen's arrest against anyone, and we can do that to the police officers. And if they say, well, they can't do it. Yes, we can. Okay, sorry, didn't mean to use that Obama phrase, but we can do that. So it's interesting, to say the least, that that we have a society in this country the way that it is. It's very interesting, but I know the faults. I know why we got this far, and it's our fault. It's literally our fault. We allowed it. And more and more people were dumbed down to the point of saying, well, we'll just, they want to do this for us? Oh, okay, yeah, let's do that. No. No. And you get them, when you look at Edward Bernays, when you look at people like that, and when you look at Henry Kissinger and what he says, and when you look at all these people that who literally vehemently don't like free people and free thinkers, you'll immediately understand why people in schools and our governmental indoctrination institutes are so dumbed down that they have no other, there's no other thought in their head to be free or liberated people, that they'll just go along with everything else. You see that. I mean, 25, 30 years ago, most of you were in school. Most of you learned a great deal in school. Go talk to some of the graduates now out of high school or even out of community colleges. Ask them simple questions like, what is the capital of New York? New York State. Most of them will tell you New York City. Nope. Ask them, why do we celebrate July 4th? And they'll say, well, it's Independence Day. Independence from what? They won't know. You see where I'm headed with that? So we've allowed all of this to take place in the last 30, 40, 50 years because of the fact that our education system is in the hole. Okay? We've done burned bridges all over the place, and the stupid sheeple are on the other side of the island. You know what I mean? And the smart, aware people who know what's going on and who are trying to help them can't get over there to help them. So I know it's a bad analogy. That's a bad metaphor, isn't it? Let me move on, okay? Going to Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook. Thank you for supporting the page, by the way. Pass it on to your friends. Get this. Nobel Peace laureates, more than one, call for Israel military boycott over Gaza assault. This is the first time I'm reading this. It's from theguardian.co.uk. Written by Chris McGreal over there in Jerusalem. And it says a group of Nobel Prize winners, prominent artists and activists, have issued a call for an international military boycott of Israel following the assault on Gaza Strip this month. The letter also denounces the U.S., EU, and several developing countries for what it describes as their, quote, complicity, unquote, through weapons sales and other military support in the attack that killed 160 Palestinians, many of them civilians, including about 35 children. The 52 signatories include the Nobel Peace Laureates Myreed Maguire and Adolfo Perez Esquivel, the film directors Mike Lee and Ken Loach, and author Alice Walker, and U.S. academic Noam Chomsky, Roger Waters of Pink Floyd, and Stephanie Hessel, a former French diplomat and Holocaust survivor who has co-authored the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. That's a key word there. That's code. Okay, that's key word, Universal Declaration of Human Rights. By the way, that is United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Okay? That was, I think, ratified by the United Nations in 1947. Quote, horrified at the latest round of Israeli aggression against the 1.5 million Palestinians in the besieged and occupied Gaza Strip, and conscious of the impunity that has enabled this new chapter of Israel's decades-old violations of international law and Palestinian rights, we believe there is an urgent need for international action towards a mandatory, comprehensive military embargo against Israel. Unquote, the letter says. And it continues, quote, such a measure has been subject to several UN resolutions and is similar to the arms embargo imposed against apartheid South Africa in the past, unquote. The letter accuses several countries of providing important military support that facilitated the assault on Gaza. Quote, while the United States has been the largest sponsor of Israel, supplying billions of dollars of advanced military hardware every year, the role of the European Union must not go unnoticed. In particular, its hefty subsidies to Israel's military complex through its research programs. Similarly, the growing military ties between Israel and the emerging economies of Brazil, India, and South Korea are unconscionable, given their normal support of Palestinian freedom, unquote. The letter opens with a quote from Nelson Mandela, quote, for to be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others, unquote. The other signatories include John Dugard, the South African jurist and former UN Special Rapporteur in the occupied territories, Luisa Morgantini, former president of the European Parliament, Cynthia McKinney, a former member of the U.S. Congress, and Ronnie Kasrils of South Africa, a South African former cabinet minister, and the dramatist Carol Churchill. Now, the U.S. has had a constant hand in the support of Israel. There are people here who say we shouldn't support Israel. There are people here that say we shouldn't support Palestine. And we do. Okay, through the United Nations. Let me put it to you this way. I'm going to break it down like this. I'm going to go further into this after the break, but I got to say this. Folks, the Palestinians, their families, their friends, their co-workers, the Israelis, their family, friends, and co-workers, they're all human beings. What the hell's going on over there? I'll tell you. It's been going on for over 5,000 years. It's all about land. It's all about land. Has nothing to do with religion, has nothing to do with commodities, has nothing to do with anything other than land. Okay? Go look it up. I mean, I saw a map that showed a comparison between the United States and Israel. And guess what? Over, 40 years or whatever it's been, people of indigenous natures, the American Indians and the Palestinians, yada, 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 they've dwindled into this little patch of land that the controllers say, that's yours, you keep that. Well, the Palestinians aren't going to have that, neither are the Israelis. But again, my point is, they're human beings. They have families. I care about life. I care about people living, okay? All right? And it's just, we have to understand that they're human beings. And if there is some way that we can intervene and stop all of this, please do. But until then, I doubt that'll happen. But until then, we've got to do something. Okay? Somebody's going to say, well, you support Israel. No, I don't. I don't support killing on either side, Palestinians or Israelis. I hate war, but if somebody tries to attack me, I'm going to take care of myself best way I know how. I live in an open carry state, and I do. This is The Views Expressed right here on the Liberty and Freedom Network, broadcasting live on Spreaker.com.
Late Night in the Midlands is an alternative media that covers the truth, theory, and fact that the lamestream media won't talk about. We cover everything from the known and the unknown, the normal and the paranormal, the government lies and the government ties, and even their thrive. We tell what's coming, what's going, whether it be politics or archaeologists. We have an amazing fan base, and our shows are all archived to be heard millions of times more. So tell your friends, your family, and anybody you care about LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Become a member and be informed.
Come listen to Journey into Light with your host, Michael Long. The show is about looking into the afterlife. Where do our souls go from here? What are the true messages from above? Everybody is family, so make a journey into light with Michael Long your home. With the best guests on the show, they share the love with all who call in and those who are in the chat room. That's Journey into Light with Michael Long, Sunday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, on blogtalkradio.com/Journey into the Light. Eastland Sci-Fi Radio Theater is looking for you. Are you a voice actor looking to hone your abilities? Are you a writer looking for actors? Then Eastland Sci-Fi Radio Theater is for you. If you are a voice actor or a writer of sci-fi themed radio plays, send your information to Eastland Radio Films at USA.com. For more information, go to eastlandradiofilms.wix.com/EastlandFilms for more information. If you are a voice actor, send your audition clips to Eastland Radio Films at USA.com. Oh, hello. Am I on? Hey, is anyone out there? Okay, cool. You get so caught up. I'm so laid back on this show. Hey, so cool. Just got an email, and it's partly my fault, too. Michael Vera will not be on the show because he totally forgot because he got so busy doing his show or prepping for his show. LateNightInTheMidlands.com. It's on at 6 p.m. Pacific and 9 p.m. Eastern. Go check it out, man. He's awesome. Go check out LateNightInTheMidlands.com and go check that out. You go to the page, and on the right-hand side, you see a little player, a little list of things. You go to the top of the list, click that one, and it'll take you. You'll hear the show. It's live at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. Michael Vera, late night in the Midlands.com. He's got some really awesome guests on. I don't know who he has on tonight, so go check out latenightinthemidlands.com. Check out who he has on. He had George Norrie from Coast to Coast AM on, and he had Jesse Ventura on at one point, so that was kind of cool. So, yeah, go check it out. Again, I know, latenightinthemidlands.com. We will have someone call in here in a little bit. A friend of mine, Nicole, we're so laid back on the show. Hey, it's no big deal. Yeah, no big deal. You want to follow me, go to Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook. Follow me there. Check out some articles I have, all that good stuff. Speaking of which, let's go there right now so I can get through all this news and not rant so much. How's that? The Blaze, Glenn Beck and The Blaze, theblaze.com, Welfare Nation, The Sad Truth, written by Beckett Adams. Thank you over there at The Blaze. Thank you, Glenn Beck. Former Speaker of the House Newt Gingrich, during the Republican presidential primaries, often referred to President Barack Obama as the quote-unquote food stamp president, unquote, a charge that was met with piercing and outraged cries of racism. Quote, over here, you have a policy which, with Reagan and me as speaker, created millions of jobs. It's called paychecks. Over here, you have the most successful food stamp president in American history, Barack Obama, unquote, Gingrich said. You might want to go check out this article yourself, but let me read a few more paragraphs here. Suppose, quote-unquote, racist dog whistles aside, it should be noted that Gingrich is not the first person to voice concern over the expansion of our so-called welfare nation. But is this concern warranted? That is the growth of our welfare state really something we need to worry about, considering the fact that every 1.65 employed persons in the private sector, for every 1.65 employed persons in the private sector, one person currently receives welfare assistance, and the fact that that for every 1.25 employed persons in the private sector, one person currently receives welfare assistance or works for the government, we'd say yes. Go check out that article. It's titled Welfare Nation, The Sad Truth. Check that out. It's from theblaze.com. I would think not only social welfare, but corporate welfare. Go search that term, corporate welfare. You'll see all kinds of blogs about it. A great place to go to, and you may agree with them, you may not. Cato Institute, CATO.org. Go check out that site as well. Another article I have up there with the pictures on Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook says, predators with impunity. If resisting arrest is a crime, does a woman have a right to resist a sexual assault by a police officer? Let's go see what this article says, what this little, well, it's not so little, but I'm going to read you the first couple of paragraphs here. Last May 5th, Magdalena Mole, a young wife and mother from Burbank, Illinois, went to a nearby village called Justice to visit a friend. Shortly after midnight, Mrs. Mole called a taxi and went to the street corner to wait for her ride. A few minutes later, a police officer named Carmen Scardine, or whatever, drove by, then stopped in the middle of the street and ordered Mole to get in his car. Although Scardine demanded identification from Mole and called the dispatcher to run her name, she never explained why he had taken her into custody. That would be, what is that, summary or something of that nature? I can't remember. When the taxi arrived a few minutes later, the officer ordered the driver to leave. Then he drove the terrified young woman to a secluded area and sexually assaulted her. On the following day, Mrs. Mole filed an official complaint which was upheld by the Justice Police Department. She has filed a lawsuit against the department and the Village of Justice, and there is no record that Skardine has been charged with a crime or even subjected to official discipline. This is what they said. As far as I know, he is still on the force, stated a dispatcher for the Village of Justice Police Department, which is no stranger to corruption, when asked about Carmen Skardine's status on November 21st. The facts asserted by Mrs. Mole in her lawsuit aren't in dispute. Why wasn't her assailant prosecuted for sexual assault? If Skardine had been charged with that crime, he may have been able to claim that the victim had consented to the act because she didn't resist. Well, of course, if she had resisted, she most likely would have been prosecuted for resisting arrest or even aggravated assault on a police officer, assuming that the victim survived the officer's attempt to subdue her. Again, like I said at the beginning of the show, we have to hold our officials, the people that should serve us, number one, to a higher standard, and number two, accountable and responsible for their actions, period, end of sentence. The Supreme Court has said, as far as Illinois is concerned, has said that now you and I can film police in the process of them doing their job. Don't use common sense. Don't interfere with them doing their job. Just stand off on the corner somewhere or in your front yard and film them. If they have a problem with that, you go find the document that says from the United States Supreme Court that you as a citizen have a right to do this. And you show them that. And if they won't take it, then you talk to their commanding officers. Okay? And, of course, you can actually, from what I've heard, I don't know if this is true. I've heard this. I haven't checked this out myself. But from what I've heard, you can go into the police station and literally talk to someone there and have for yourself, you can have a state or a county or a city paid attorney come in and, figure it all out. I don't know this for sure, but I've heard you can do this. I don't know what I know it varies in every county and every state and every city, but this is what I've heard. Okay? So clear it up for me. Thank you. Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. I think you have to talk to the public information officer or something like that. I'm not sure. So check that out. Someone else is in the Spreaker chat. Let's pop over to the Spreaker chat and check this out. Paranormal Phil said, I'm out of here. Got to get dinner, get back to some work I need to catch up on. Hey, Phil, thank you for dropping by, and thank you for supporting the show just by being here. Thank you. Appreciate that. Have a good night. So anyway, yes. So anyway, we should hold all of our officials, whether they're the attorneys, the representatives, the Congress, whoever running for Congress, we need to hold them accountable and responsible for their actions, period. We do. And if some people go, well, we shouldn't have to. They know what we want. Not unless you sat down across the table and talked to them, they don't. Well, enough people get together. No. Mm-hmm. Stop sucking off of the teat of the New World Order and listen up. You need to go and talk to these people yourself. Don't rely on someone else to give you second, third, fourth, fifth hand information and then agree with it and just go along with it, okay? I know you have a mind of your own. Okay? Here in Nevada, I can drive 30 some odd miles down to Carson City, Nevada and talk to anybody I want. Okay? I wouldn't just pop in there. I would call ahead and see who I had to talk to, okay? I mean, that's just the way it is. It's called common sense, okay? It works. So, anyway. So, what do we do? What do we do? We should, and we can do this, put in the paper. We may have to pay for it. Might be a little bit. But you put in the paper, you want to talk to your representatives and you should be able to hold them accountable and responsible for their actions. You can do that. Or you can put it on Facebook. Or you can go and call these people and say, what are you doing for me? You know? I don't see anything wrong with that. You know? I really don't. You know? Email me, libertyandfreedomnetwork@usa.com. Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. Go to Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook. Thank you. Hey, anybody out there have a student loan? I do. It's so far in default, man. I owe, let's just say a small fortune. Yeah. Secretsofthefed.com. An article written, trying to figure out, see here who it's written by. Posted by Liberating Elder. Okay, so thank you. This is at secretsofthefed.com. Student loan bubble just popped. Student debt 90-plus day delinquency rate goes parabolic. We have already discussed the student loan bubble and it's popped previously most extensively in this article. Today we get the Q3 Consumer Credit Breakdown update courtesy of the New York Fed's quarterly credit breakdown, and it is quite ghastly. As of September 30th, federal, not total, just federal, rose to a gargantuan $956 billion. That's billion with a B, folks. An increase of $42 billion in the quarter, the biggest quarterly update since 2006. This is student loans, folks. But this is no surprise to anyone who read our latest piece on the topic. What also shouldn't be a surprise, at the least, is our readers who read about it here first. But what will stun the general public are the two charts below. The first of which shows the amount of 90-plus day student loan delinquencies. And the second shows the amount of newly delinquent 30-plus day student loan balances. The chart speaks for itself. Yeah, it is completely astronomical. It's gone through the roof. Here's the thing. I have a student loan that's been out for over 25 years. They need to write these suckers off. If you can't pay them after 10 years, hell, if the government's going to borrow $876 billion to pay off banks and car companies, they can pay my damn loan, period. And all student loans, if you cannot pay them after 10 years, they should be written off. Businesses take a loss every year. Why not? Well, you borrowed it, you owe it. You signed a promissory note, you owe it. Dude, let me tell you, I am not in the job I went to school for. Yeah, I have an electronics background. I have an electrical background. I have a construction background. I have a warehousing background. I can't work because I'm disabled. Okay? Seriously. I can do, well, let me say this. I cannot do what I used to do, which was warehousing, construction, and electrical work, and all this, that, and the other thing. I can't do it. I cannot do what I used to do. Okay? I've done it for over 25, actually, this is 2012. I've done it for over 32 years. Okay? Actually, 28 before my body just decided, you can't do this anymore. You're not 20. You're not 20 years old anymore, And I'm sure there's people out there like that. They just cannot do what they used to do. So they go and, get on Social Security disability or whatever and do what they have to do, or more apt to get retrained to do something else. And I know people that do that. If you have a student loan that is over 20 years old, that thing should be written off. The government should stop coming after you. Well, they want their money. Yeah, because they don't have any. The Treasury just the other day, Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, Friday morning, President Obama or somebody borrowed money from the Treasury had to borrow some more money. Okay? Friday morning, behind closed doors, not even coming out in the public until Monday. So if they can do that, every single student loan that is over 15 years old should be written off today, right now, immediately. Period. And I'm going to challenge each and every single one of you out there that have a student loan over 20 years old, over 15, 20 years old. I want you, and I'll lead this if you want me to. I'm putting myself out there right now. But we all have to come together and work together, and we all have to take it upon ourselves to go out and get the attorneys. And there are some free attorneys out there. Go look for legal services or things like that for those that don't have any money. You know what I mean? You just can't, Contingency. Well, look for attorneys that work on contingency basis. That way, if you win, they get money. If you lose, they don't get paid. You know what I mean? So look for them. We need to sue, to file a massive, massive, massive lawsuit against the Department of Education for allowing all these fly-by-night, jacked up schools, allowing them to take money from taxpayers to do what? These people, and I know this because I've researched this intensely. These jacked up schools that are fly-by-night little mom and pop schools, and I'll mention one right here, Career College in Northern Nevada, right here in Reno. I know this for a fact. I've got documents, okay? These schools take money and they look at you and purposely, they don't tell you this, they purposely defraud you. They commit fraud against you. Oh, borrow this money, you go to school, within 18 months to 2 years, you can get out and you can go and get the job, blah, blah. Folks, there are no jobs out there for people with degrees. I can tell you that from personal experience. I've talked to people with BAs and AAs. I've talked to people with certificates and all that, and they're saying there ain't crap out there for us. Now, you in your city might find it a little bit different. Who knows? But here in Reno and here in Nevada specifically, there ain't squat out there for people. So they're stuck with these loans that they can't pay on the minimum wage or over minimum wage jobs, trying to pay their rent and all that, and, sometimes there's child care involved because they have kids. Okay? That's why there is what was it? What? How much? How much did I say it was? Or how much did this article say it was? It was $956 billion. Okay? That's what the government is not getting from school loans, okay? It's not being paid back. Why? No jobs. Why? Because these fly-by-night joker schools out there are stealing money from the taxpayers and defrauding so-called students in their school. Yeah, somebody want to come along and argue that point with me? Go ahead. The only schools you should go to, and you'll have problems here too, and I'm sorry, they're governmental indoctrination institutes. The community colleges, the four-year colleges, the undergrad colleges, the universities, all this, they purposely put you out and say, yeah, you can borrow the money, of course. It's $30,000 per semester. You go 4 years, you'll owe over $100,000. And then when you get out after 4 years, do you really think the job is going to be there? You might as well pack your crap and go to China with your degree because, hey, you get paid. You see what I'm saying? Number one, we need to sue the Department of Education for allowing this crap to happen. Little fly-by-night schools opening up everywhere. And then we need to sue, in my case, I don't know who it is now, but the last time I checked, it was William D. Ford Foundation that had a loan, one of my loans. So we need to sue them all, put them all out of business, and just tell these fly-by-night schools, you ain't getting jack squat from me. The only credible, and I know they're governmental indoctrination institutes, but you'll get something out of it for yourself if you take your mind away from the fact that they're trying to indoctrinate you and go out and learn the stuff on your own or find the information on your own after they, give you the basics like I did. I found out they're criminal as well. So we need all these loans written off. Well, they need that $952 billion. It's almost $1 trillion, folks. That's how much money we're borrowing from China, who is our enemy, who is communist. Hell, I know people from China that say China's more, Hong Kong and Beijing are more free than America. It's called fascism, folks. They take a little bit of the Western, type of society and all of that, and then they mix it in with their thing, and they get, it's what I call pseudo-capitalism over there. We need to write off all these school loans and just say, screw it. If we can't pay off $16 trillion in debt, usdebtclock.org, go check it out. If we can't write that off, if we can't get that off and can't pay that, we're in serious trouble, folks. We need all the school loans written off that are over 15 to 20 years old. Over 20 years old. Mine's 25 now. Write it off. You ain't getting it. That ain't happening. Okay? Well, we'll get it if you file a retirement when you're 65. We'll get that money. And I'll sue your ass into the ground. Okay? It's just the way it is. You don't back me into a corner and think you're going to get away with whipping me. I'll grab that whip and shove it up so far up your ass, you're going to have to, it's going to be very difficult for you to get it out of there. You don't put baby in a corner. Okay, just to quote Dirty Dancing. I knew some people out there were saying that, okay? Anywho, let's do that. Email me, libertyandfreedomnetwork@usa.com, libertyandfreedomnetwork@usa.com. Give me information. Attorneys, are there attorneys out there that can do this? Email me, libertyandfreedomnetwork@usa.com, libertyandfreedomnetwork@usa.com. I don't have any sponsors yet on this show, so I'm going to run a promo here in a minute. Okay. This is one of the... Well, I'll just run it. Okay. This is the views expressed for the 28th of November, 2012. You're listening to this on the Liberty and Freedom Network, broadcasting live on Spreaker.com. This is Reverend Wayne S. Pierce from the Views Expressed. I'm here to tell you that with all the devastation that has taken place on the East Coast, there is no other time in our lives where we need to be more prepared. My message to you is that we have to be prepared for the worst, hoping for the best, hoping we can get through whatever catastrophe that occurs. It is time now to get your food, water, clothing, and batteries and anything else you need to survive together and have it close by in case something happens. Wherever you live, it is always a good idea to have a backup plan. Our nation's capital is not coming to your rescue. Be prepared. Thank you. Do you live in the Reno and Carson City, Nevada area? Have you noticed something strange happening in your home? Have you had unexplained things happen like lights turning on or off by themselves or things moving with unseen hands? Contact Western Nevada Paranormal and we will figure out what is going on. Western Nevada Paranormal does not prove or disprove anything. They are there to assist you in figuring out what is happening. Contact them today. Email them at paranormalexplorer@usa.com. Views expressed right here on the Liberty and Freedom Network, broadcasting live on Spreaker.com for the 28th of November 2012. I am your host, Reverend Wayne S. Pierce. Thank you for joining me. Drop into the Spreaker chat and say hi if you can. If you're on the website, go to the right-hand side of the page. You'll see Many Directions of Man. That is a book that I wrote. And it's just my observations of what's going on and some possible solutions. Also, on the right-hand side, you can go to the top of the right-hand side of the page and see Spreaker. Check out the plans they have, and there's a plan that fits your budget. On the left-hand side of the page, you'll see a store, a little tab that says Store. And if you want to promote this show, Liberty and Freedom Network, or you want to promote the network, Liberty and Freedom Network and the Views Expressed, you can promote your patriotism there by buying stuff. That's cool. And also down below on the left-hand side, you'll see a donate button. This is listener-supported online radio. Please, whatever you can do, your support is greatly appreciated. And all that does, I'll tell you what that does. Full disclosure here. All that does is keep the website up and the show going. That's it. That's the bottom line. That's all it does, okay? So please help if you can. If not, hey, you are so wonderful to support this show. If you're in the chat room, I get notifications of people listening to my show live, my live statistics, and I see there's 10, 15, 20 people, whatever. Pop into the chat room. Say hi. You know, I don't mind if you pop in there and tell me about your show and what time and all that. If whatever it's on, if it's on Blog Talk Radio, if it's on TalkShoe.com or some other network, or you know, even here on Spreaker. You know, I mean, go ahead. I want to promote. So if I do have, just to let you know, I do have some ad space available on the website, so please, if you would, you can email me any of the information you wish to Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. That would be Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. Again, all that just goes to keep the webpage up and the show going. That's all it does. So there you go. And I love live radio when the phone rings. And that's all it is. Okay, you're going to hear it ring a couple more times. No big deal. And one more should do it, right? It's 7 minutes past the hour. And we're going to go to Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. Or excuse me, that's the address. That's the email address. Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. Go to Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook, and you'll see a couple of promotions for my site. Here's this. Hear ye, hear ye. Check this out. A Sheep No More on Facebook. Go check out their page. Support them. Tell them I sent you. That would be Reverend Wayne S. Pierce at the Views Expressed over at the Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook. There's also a Liberty and Freedom Foundation on Facebook. Not my group. Somebody totally different. Liberty and Freedom Network is my group. So let A Sheep No More know that I sent you over there. They got a lot of great articles that they put up. So does Liberty and Freedom Foundation. Check them out. I love supporting people because if they're in it for the long haul to support liberty and freedom and security for this nation, I'm all there. I give them a virtual high five. So anyway, this picture, click on it. It has the President, Barack Obama, and the one and only architect of the New World Order, as it says, Henry Kissinger. It says here, for a huge variety of well-justified reasons, Dr. Henry Kissinger is believed by millions to be one of the single most evil individuals still living, or to have ever lived. The problem with considering Dr. Kissinger as evil is that inside of each of us there is a little Dr. Kissinger that lacked the nourishment to reach the heights of satanic fruition that Dr. Kissinger has reached. Literally, Kissinger is no better than Hitler. It is a great lack of perspective that one must employ. Excuse me, let me read that again. I think the person misspelled a few words. Literally, Kissinger is no better than Hitler. It is a great lack of perspective that one must employ to envision Henry Kissinger as the more moral man than Adolf Hitler. The ideals of Dr. Kissinger are every bit as lethal, but to different demographics of persons. Consider voting the lesser of two evils. Continuing, like his lieutenant and subordinate of the New World Order, Barack H. Obama, Kissinger won the Nobel Peace Prize, clear indication of an Orwellian world controlled by oligarchy propaganda. Any sensible man now regards the Nobel Prize for Peace as a most hideous badge of murder, the mark of a satanic revelry in intent of the gravest order of humanity. Notions set forth by Dr. Kissinger include the idea that the elderly are useless eaters. Go look it up. Go look up Henry Kissinger's quotes. You'll see that. Continuing, that is Nobel Prize Peace. And Dr. Kissinger is now elderly, and he still eats. Quote, the elderly are useless eaters, unquote. Dr. Henry Kissinger, it even says it here, quoted in the book The Final Days. Go look that up. Quote, military men are dumb, stupid animals to be used as pawns for foreign policy. Unquote. Henry Kissinger quoted in the book The Final Days. This is what Henry Kissinger said. Okay, you can go look this up yourself. Quote, depopulation should be the highest priority of the foreign policy towards the third world because the U.S. economy will require large and increasing amounts of minerals from abroad, especially from less developed countries, unquote. Henry Kissinger, National Security Memo 200, dated April 24th, 1974. Quote, today, Americans would be outraged if UN troops entered Los Angeles to restore order. Tomorrow they will be grateful. This is especially true if they were told there was an outside threat from beyond, whether real or promulgated, that threatened our very existence. It is then that all peoples of the world will plead with world leaders to deliver them from this evil. The one thing every man fears is the unknown. When presented with this scenario, individual rights will be willingly relinquished. Get that? Individual rights will be willingly relinquished for the guarantee that their well-being granted to them by their world government. Unquote. Henry Kissinger, speaking at Evian, France, May 21st, 1992, Bilderberg meeting. Unbeknownst to Kissinger, his speech was taped by a Swiss delegate to the meeting. Quote, "Power is the ultimate aphrodisiac," unquote. Henry Kissinger quoted in the book The Final Days. How good, Sir Dr. Kissinger, do you indeed have no honor, sir? Sir? Who can justify such things? Oh, I know for certain that the tongue is a two-edged sword, an instrument of division and sin. But, oh, Dr. Kissinger, surely you jest. You'd have the elderly starve, Los Angeles invaded after an orchestrated subversion plot, and enjoy the thrill of it all. How much more evil could the human heart contain? How much spite? How much ignorance from one supposedly so brilliant? How much more a vacuum of empathy for his fellows could a man who fought against Hitler have within him? Try as I might. And try as I may, I find no justification for the hideous and immoral philosophy of Dr. Kissinger. But the saddest truth of all is that he's revered as a great man, a master statesman, a philosopher, and a teacher. How is any of this possible? What worthy deed has Dr. Henry Kissinger done for this world? What worthy deed has he done at all, save his well-performed duties in the European theater of war during the Allied invasion of the very land he escaped from? Has he ever done anything for his fellows? Likely not. Henry Kissinger is the exact dumb, stupid beast pawn of foreign policy that he decried that military men were, all the while himself a war veteran. Irony knows no bounds, and neither does the black heart of Henry Kissinger. Let us take a look at the life of Henry Kissinger, master architect of the New World Order. Henry Kissinger, with Fritz Kramer in 1945, young Henry Kissinger. There was a picture there, I suppose. Born as Hans Alfred Kissinger in Bavaria, Germany in 1923 to a traditional German Jewish family. Henry's father was a schoolteacher, and surely that was a major part of him becoming a bit of an academic. Kissinger wasn't the family's surname originally, but had been adopted many years before, in 1817, by Henry's great-great-grandmother. The Kissingers could see and feel the turbulent political weather in Germany during the 1930s, and in 1938 they wisely moved to New York City. Henry adopted the culture of the U.S. readily and quickly, but to hear Dr. Kissinger speak is to realize that he never lost his Frankish German accent. Do you see how clean-cut our Dr. Kissinger is in the photo above or in the photo? Well, when Henry got out of high school, he promptly went to college and he worked part-time in an old-fashioned shave brush factory to help pay his bills. Henry excelled academically and enjoyed working part-time, too. At the City College in New York, he studied accounting, but his studies were interrupted when he was drafted into the Army in 1943. Oh, how odd. In the Army, the future Dr. Kissinger would meet another very talented German immigrant named Fritz Kramer. And because both of them were very fluent in German, their talents were in great demand. Henry was no coward. He volunteered for hazardous duty and got it during the Battle of the Bulge. As the Allied forces advanced into the German heartland, Henry Kissinger brilliantly arranged and organized German civilians, was promoted quickly to sergeant, and set to tracking down Gestapo officers and other saboteurs. For his efforts, he was awarded the Bronze Star. Soon young Henry would take on more and more authority, helping to denazify assigned districts of captured West Germany. The Dr. Henry Kissinger, following his very worthy and appreciated service in the Second World War, Henry Kissinger returned to the U.S. and put his mind to books. He studied at Harvard College and in 1954 was awarded his Ph.D. from Harvard University. Henry would then remain at Harvard University as a member of the faculty, and his primary manner of influence was in government and international affairs. As an Ivy League staff, one has tremendous sway with the government, as universities such as Harvard are practically part of the federal government of the USA. Henry was on his way to becoming the ultimate globalist philosopher, the kind of man that ultimately is an anti-patriot, a hater of the rights and culture of the nation that so easily and lovingly adopted his family when they fled the Nazis. Just like George Soros betrayed the United Kingdom for billions, Henry Kissinger would betray the citizens of the USA in favor of the New World Order. Eager to influence U.S. foreign policy in such a manner as to destroy the United States from within, Henry Kissinger would team up with like-minded anti-American Americans such as Nelson Rockefeller, then governor of New York. From the influence with the governor, one of the nation's most populous and wealthiest states, Kissinger would then leap into the least credible or honest presidential administrations in the U.S. history, and Richard Nixon must have surely saw a kindred spirit in Henry. He made him National Security Advisor in 1969. Soon, Henry Kissinger was Secretary of State, and after Nixon was humiliated publicly, Henry Kissinger would remain as Secretary of State under Gerald Ford. So far, so good, huh, folks? This is what we're dealing with. Continuing realpolitik with Henry Kissinger. In 1969 to 1977, Henry Kissinger was perhaps the single most dominant individual in the United States foreign policy, and he did orchestrate some nice maneuvers in regards to dealing with the gigantic beast of the Soviet Union and Communist China. Henry had no part in starting the war in Vietnam, but he did make grand efforts to end it, and for that he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Despite his orchestrated ceasefire being largely ineffective, I suppose he could have had intentions that were. As National Security Advisor in 1974, Kissinger directed the much-debated National Security Study Memorandum 200. Go look it up. National Security Study Memorandum 200. And this is a document and or plan that was anything but peaceful. If you study the no longer classified document, you'll find the policies of Nobel quote-unquote Peace Prize winner Kissinger anything but peaceful, but rather the more cold and deterministic towards protecting the wealthy with their wealth, as the ultimate goal has always been a global governance ran by the super wealthy oligarchs that Kissinger admires so much. Please note the word exploitation in the following. Quote, the U.S. economy will require large and increasing amounts of minerals from abroad, especially from less developed countries. See National Commission on Materials Policy towards a National Minerals Policy, Basic Data and Issues, April 1972. That fact gives the U.S. enhanced interest in the political, economic, and social stability of the supplying countries. Wherever a lessening of population pressures through reduced birth rates can increase the prospects of such stability, population policy becomes relevant to resource supplies and to the economic interest of the United States. The location of known reserves of higher grade ores of most minerals favors increasing dependence of all industrialized regions on imports from less developed countries. The real problems of mineral supplies lie not in the basic physical sufficiency, but in the politico-economic issues of access, terms for exploration and exploitation, and division of the benefits among producers, consumers, and host country governments. Chapter 3, Minerals and Fuels. You see, basically that's a long way of saying we're going to go in, we're going to negotiate and, with these countries that hold these minerals, and we're going to take them. They didn't agree to it. We don't care. We're going to take them. One way or another. That's how global government works, folks. Continuing, there is no possible way that I could hash out all the crimes against humanity perpetrated via the philosophy of Henry Kissinger, as well as the late Christopher Hitchens already. The 6-part video, the person that wrote this said, the 6-part video that I've linked, the first of above, is outstanding. What I find very interesting is how the Jewish Dr. Kissinger regarded the plight of the Jews in then Soviet Russia on March 1st, 1973. Kissinger stated, quote, "The immigration of Jews from the Soviet Union is not an object of American foreign policy, and if they put Jews into gas chambers in the Soviet Union, it is not an American concern, maybe a humanitarian concern," unquote. Statement is merely a statement, and of course scores of persons say a thing and then their actions show another ideology altogether. But it is a very interesting statement in light of the fact that Dr. Kissinger's deeds seem to have forever been pro-Israel while at the same time being anti-American. Perhaps Dr. Kissinger made that very cold statement in light of Richard Nixon's handling of the U.S. policy towards Israel. Nixon had forbade anyone Jewish from being involved in the U.S. policy towards Israel. Or perhaps Kissinger is truly that cold-hearted. Not much more, folks. Continuing, Henry Kissinger and his political philosophy affected not just Israel, but the entire globe. Often mass murder and the subversion of democratically elected governments was the order of the day. And though Henry Kissinger is no longer an active member of our official federal government, Henry lives on as an elderly man that eats despite believing or stating that the elderly are useless eaters. His globe-expanding vision of subversion machinations in favor of oligarchy have made him infamous and synonymous with evil. The world is a fickle world, and the wealthy have their way always with misinformed persons in the populace. Exploitation and subversion of oligarchy was long the ways and means of these United States under the influence of Kissinger. But today the circle is complete, and the peoples of the USA are reaping their own harvest for being so blind, and today the peoples of the USA are being exploited in the exact ways prescribed a couple of decades ago by the tremendous Dr. Henry Kissinger. Let's hear 3 cheers for Henry Kissinger, master hypocrite, monster, philosopher of wealth, and subversion, and winner of the President's Medal, Israel, the highest award of the State of Israel. Yeah, let's hear it for him, shall we? He purposely set out, just by his actions you can tell this, he purposely set out to demean the United States of America and to bring them to our knees. You and I are America. Washington, D.C. can get cut off and thrown into the Atlantic Ocean for all I care. You and I are America. You and I are the United States. You and I are the power behind this country in its heyday back before 1913, by the way. From 1835 to 1913, we were the most industrial nation in the world. And from that point, from 1913, we began this rise to dominance. Through what? Through what? But then, after World War II, and coincidentally, 1945, the League of Nations, or I think it was 45, the League of Nations became the United Nations. The land in which the building sits on in New York was donated by the Rockefellers. And in 1954, in the Swiss Alps, we have a bunch of people together in a little hotel up there called Bilderberg. Okay, do you now understand what is happening? Okay? Do you understand now what is happening? Okay? If you don't, folks, there's something wrong. Okay? if you don't get it, if you can't open your eyes to the reality of the history of this, and if you don't do your own homework, you got a serious problem. And yeah, here we go again. Yes, it's going to ring a couple more times. Forgive me for the interruptions, but we're going to break here in about 2.5 minutes. So, anyway, we have a situation in this country. We have a situation in this country which needs to be addressed. You and I need to address this. Remember what I talked about before. We need to hold our elected officials, whether they're sheriffs, whether they're highway patrol, whether they're our own, civil governments in our cities, and our presidents and our Congress. We need to hold them responsible and accountable for their actions. Yeah, some people might say, well, yeah, that's good. That's all good in a utopian society. Yeah, I know. But who's going to start it? Who's going to get out there in your area to do it? Who's going to do it? All right? I'll be right there with you. Okay? But who's going to do it? People are so scared anymore. They're too wimpy. They're too cowardly. They don't want to do anything. Oh, we don't want to go up against them because we'll get arrested and go to jail and we'll lose our jobs. Okay. Stop eating the brownies. You know what I'm talking about? Just stop. All right? You got there. No, just come on. We got to do something. We have to do something. Okay? Excuse me. I got a little something going on there. We shall return in a little bit. We have to do something. Seriously, we have to. I don't care what it is. We can write all kinds of blogs, put them out there, put them on everybody's page, whatever. And if you have a blog, send it to me. I'll put it on my website and promote you. Please do. Go to gather.com and write as much as you can, okay? Gather.com. www.gather.com. You'll love it. This is Reverend Wayne S. Pierce for the views expressed on the Liberty and Freedom Network. This is the 28th of November, 2012. We shall return right after this. War is peace. Freedom is slavery. Ignorance is strength. That is from 1984 by George Orwell. Do you really want to know what's going on? Come listen to The Views Express, Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, only on the Liberty and Freedom Network.
Samo Radio, playing music for free so you can listen longer. Samo.
It's the 5 o'clock drive with Samo.
Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. till 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
What's on your mind? Chances are it's on their mind too. Check out Diana and Wayne's Grab Bag Potpourri Talk Show. Friday evenings at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. Only on Spreaker.com.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window. or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
Strange. Can't make heads or tails of things.
What is the Matrix? Control. The Matrix is a computer-generated dream world, built to keep us under control in order to change a human being into this.
No. I don't believe it. It's not possible.
I didn't say it would be easy, Neo. I just said it would be the truth.
I'm out of it for a little while. Everybody gets delusions of grandeur.
I am wondering, why are you here?
The Liberty and Freedom Network presents The Views Expressed. This is Reverend Wayne S. Pierce for the 28th of November, 2012. This is, yes, Wednesday. Going on down the other side of the week. I hope you guys had a great week. Really do. I hope you guys, you can email me, by the way. Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. Liberty and Freedom Network at USA.com. Please do. Please do. I want to hear from you. I do get notifications that there are listeners to the show, so I do want to recommend that if you do drop in, even if you click on it and listen to like a minute of it, it's going to show that I got listeners, okay? So, I mean, but please hang around. Listen to what's going on, hopefully be educated and enlightened all at the same time. And if you're on listening to the show, drop into the chat room. Say hi, promote your show. I don't mind. Some people say, well, I need to get to know you to promote your show. Just go ahead and put the show name in there and I'll promote you. I don't know. I'll let people decide for themselves whether or not they want to listen to you, okay? Speaking of which, I promote shows all day long. Mine, Diana and Wayne's Grab Bag Potpourri Talk Show, another show I host with my lovely girlfriend. And also, I host a show called The Unnamed Show. Yes, that's the name of the show, The Unnamed Show. I host that with Reverend Laura Clemens, and that's usually on Saturdays at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Diana and Wayne's Grab Bag Potpourri Talk Show, that's the other one I host, is on Fridays at 7 p.m. or actually 8 p.m. 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. If you don't get a chance to listen to it live, you can just listen to it on the website. Grabbagshow.wix, wix.com/talk show. Go check that out as well. Also, a shout out to the Chris Top program. And also, the Love Muffin. Yeah, Jen, I thought I'd throw your name out there too. She does a show every now and then on Spreaker show, music show, of course. So I thought I'd throw that in there as well. It's awesome. If you like music, go check it out. That's the Love Muffin over on Spreaker.com. I think that's the name you'll find it under. I'm not sure. Also, Mobster Boss Radio Live. They have a show every once in a while here, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. But there's great news for JD and Sonny, who host Mobster Boss Radio Live. And until I get more information, I shall leave it at that. They have great news. Go check their website out. They may already have it up there. That's mobsterbossradio.com. You can email them at you can email JD at jd@mobsterbossradio.com or at mobsterbossradiolive@gmail.com. Either one will work. So go check them out. And I want to thank all my supporters, all those people that come to the show, drop in the chat room, say hi, and tell me what's going on and in their neck of the woods, and you can do that too. Please do. Thank you. Appreciate that. We have a website. It is freeamericaradio.wix.com /the views expressed. I have a chat room there. I'm not always there. I should do that. I should go there and use that chat room. But I don't. There's over on the right-hand side of the page, there's a book, Many Directions of Man. It's my views of what's going on, my perspectives, and some solutions as well, or possible solutions, I should say. Also on the left-hand side of the page, you'll see some tabs. One says Store. You can promote your patriotism and promote Liberty and Freedom Network all at the same time. Go to the store and buy some stuff. Also on the left-hand side, down at the bottom, there's a donate button. And this is listener-supported online radio. So whatever you can do, if you can do anything, would be very much appreciated. Okay? Very much. And we'll go from there. Thank you again for your support. Go to Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook. Like the page. That's where most of my stories are. I get them from all over the place. Okay? From everywhere. Let me read this to you. There's a picture on Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook. And I want to read this to you because you need to know this. It says in big red letters, "You are being lied to. Your laws and codes that define everyday life are a fabrication. Your food is tainted with toxic waste. Your water is being poisoned. You are being kept fat, dumb, and stupid with sports, quote-unquote news, and reality television. An entire generation is being ripped off and denied of their rights due to economic quote-unquote policies. You make terrible decisions in your life because they make you afraid of everything. There is no light at the end of the tunnel, no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. The American dream is just that, is just a dream. Realize that. You are the zombie apocalypse, and wake the F up." Management. That's not my opinion. That's somebody putting that picture up on Facebook, and I'm just reciting it to you. Okay? There's another picture up there. Conspiracy is no longer a theory. The UN fails to reach deal on global arms treaty as U.S., China, and Russia didn't agree. U.S. asks for more time to push it through. Okay, there's a whole bunch of other stuff up there too. You might want to check that out. Also, you can scroll on down, probably next to it, there's another picture that says, "Hey, CIA, is that a drug war you're running, or are you just running drugs?" That's from Facebook.com/United Slaves of America with a K. Facebook.com/United Slaves of America with a K. And it says 4 tons of cocaine on board a CIA plane that crashed. Oops. Just saying. Just oops. Tried to keep that secret and they didn't. Okay? So anyway. Liberty and Freedom Network, scroll on down if you're there. There's another picture with the Freemason symbol on it. It says 1, sexualizing everything. 2, promote materialism. 3, debase spirituality. 4, world domination. Say no to being a sheep. Thank you very much. There's a lot of things, though. I mean, a lot of things that we need to look at, a lot of things that we need to examine. There's so many things that we overlook because we choose to. Because we don't want to look at the hard things. We don't want to look at anything like that. And there's a host on Spreaker, I've mentioned it several times, who, wants to expose all these hosts like Alex Jones and and all that for who they are and what they are. He wants to do this, and guess what? He's barking up the wrong tree, because all that's going to do, and any host who does that, all that's going to do is going to make you look like a fool. Okay? That's all it's going to do. Period. I know this. Okay? There's another picture up there on Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook. It says, Portugal decriminalized all drugs 11 years ago, and the results are staggering. On July 1st, 2001, Portugal decriminalized every imaginable drug from marijuana to cocaine to heroin. Some thought Lisbon would become a drug tourist haven. Others predicted usage rates among youth to surge. By the way, Lisbon, Spain, because of austerity being implemented in that country, Lisbon, the citizens of Lisbon, Spain, have gone out. Hundreds and thousands of people have gone out to the streets and protested. Why don't we do that here? Because we're cowardly and wimpy, and we don't want to do that. 11 years ago, it turns out that they were both wrong. Let me read that again, because this is very, very important to the drug war, okay, to this false sense of accomplishment we're having in a drug war. On July 1st, 2001, Portugal decriminalized every imaginable drug from marijuana to cocaine to heroin. Some thought Lisbon would become a drug tourist haven. Others predicted usage rates among youths to surge. 11 years later, turns out they were both wrong. Over a decade has passed since Portugal changed its philosophy from labeling drug users as criminals to labeling them as people affected by a disease. This time lapse has allowed statistics to develop and in time has made Portugal an example to follow. First, some clarification. Portugal's move to decriminalize does not mean people can carry around, use, or sell drugs free from police interference. That would be legalization. Rather, all drugs are decriminalized, quote unquote, meaning drug possession, distribution, and use is still illegal, while distribution and trafficking is still a crime, still a criminal offense. Possession and use is moved out of criminal courts and into special court, where each offender's unique situation is judged by legal experts, psychologists, and social workers. Treatment and further action is decided in these courts, where addicts and drug use is treated as a public health service rather than referring it to the justice system, like the U.S., reports Fox News. The resulting effect? A drastic reduction in addictions, with Portuguese officials and reports highlighting that this number at 100,000 before the new policy was enacted has been cut in half, in the following 10 years. Portugal's drug usage rates are now among the lowest of EU member states, according to the same report. One outcome? A lot less sick people. Drug-related diseases, including STDs and overdoses, have been reduced even more than usage rates, which experts believe is a result of the government offering treatment with no threat of legal ramifications to addicts. While this policy is by no means news, the statistics and figures, which take years to develop and subsequently depict the effects of the change, seem to be worth noting. In a country like America, which may take the philosophy of criminalizing a bit far, more than half of Americans' federal inmates are in prison on drug convictions, other alternatives must, and to a small degree, are being discussed. For policymakers or people simply interested in this topic, cases like Portugal are a great place to start. Decriminalizing. How about this? Legalize marijuana across the board. I don't care. Legalize it. Go ahead. I was one that I was an opponent someone who was against legalization of marijuana, but I kept looking at all the data that people kept sending me and all the information on the cures and all of the things that it can do medicinally. Just legalize it across the board. Legalize it. Look at the inmates in prison. I would say half of them, if not more than 60% of them, are in for marijuana charges. Okay? Decriminalize all the other drugs. Not legalize them. Decriminalize them. Okay? We did that with alcohol after the prohibition, didn't we? So we got to think about that one too as well. Someone in the chat room, Supersonic 94.8, said he's looking for people. He said, hey there, looking for new people. If you have Skype, add Simon Manchester, UK. And if you can add our Facebook page, that would be great. It's www.facebook.com/supersonic94.8. I will definitely do that. Thank you. Appreciate that. See, I promote people. Put it in there. Go to the chat box and put your stuff in there. One last article for the night, and I didn't get through all of them like I wanted to. Here is this. Well, wait a minute. It's the wrong one that I clicked on. Da-da-da. Here it is. Just for your enlightenment and education. A sheep no more on Facebook. A sheep no more. Posted this. This is from naturalnews.com. Mike Adams, the health ranger over there, is the editor and owner of that site from naturalnews.com. Posted today by J.D. Hayes. UN now seeks, hold on to your horses, United Nations now seeks total control over the internet. What is arguably, the very last bastion of totally free speech is once again under assault by the world's tyrants as the United Nations is now eyeing regulation of the internet as though it was in need of being regulated. Why? It's an, as I clicked off on it, it's an age-old story. Leaders of authoritarian regimes the world over hate the free flow of information that is disseminated via the internet. They hate the fact that they no longer have a monopoly on ideas and opinions within their own country. They see notions of freedom and liberty as a threat. They despise any medium that undermines their grip on power, and other regimes are heavily presented or represented in the UN, of which the United States, once considered the bastion of liberty and freedom, is the largest contributor. Quote, who runs the internet? For now, the answer remains no one, or at least no government, which explains the web's success as a new technology. But as of next week, unless the U.S. gets serious, the answer could be the United Nations, unquote, reports the Wall Street Journal. It's not some kooky website. It's not some conspiracy theory. Go look it up. Wall Street Journal. Authoritarians seek ways to control free expression, free speech, and individual liberty. The sizable number of the world's bodies, 193 members, simply oppose the open and very uncontrolled nature of the internet, the paper said, the Wall Street Journal, noting the World Wide Web's interconnected global networks that defy international boundaries and, as such, make it extremely difficult for governments to tax or censor. In other words, they want a piece of the action, and if you don't pay them and do what they tell you to do, they'll censor you. They want to tax you and censor you, basically. They want you to pay for them to control you and your free flow of information over the internet. Hello, doesn't make sense to me. Continuing. For over a year, these authoritarian regimes have lobbied a UN agency known as the International Telecommunications Union to grab the reins of the internet and take over its management. The organization, which was originally created in 1865, as the International Telegraph Union last wrote a treaty on communications in 1988, years before the commercial internet developed into a popular communication and commerce medium, and back when telecommunications referred to voice telephone calls routed through national telephone monopolies. By the way, go look at Telecommunications Act of 1996. That's not in the article. I'm telling you this out of memory. Telecommunications Act of 1996. Continuing, in the coming days, the ITU plans to hold a negotiating conference in the Emirate of Dubai, says reports. In the past months, rumors have surfaced that a new treaty could be in the offing, one that will no doubt prove disastrous to a free and open internet. Most U.S. resolutions, as well as free market commentary and publications such as the Wall Street Journal, quote, have focused on proposals by authoritarian governments to censor the internet, unquote, the paper reported. Quote, just as objectionable are proposals that ignore how the internet works, threatening its smooth and open operations, unquote. What would be the effect of having the internet reviewed and regulated by global bureaucrats, most of whom are sympathetic to or beholden to authoritarian regimes bent on stifling free speech, free expression, and individual liberty? The internet consists of 40,000 networks interconnected among 425,000 global routes that cheaply and inefficiently deliver messages and digital content to about 2 billion people around the world every day, with 500,000 signing on each day. Up to now, the internet has been self-regulating, which has obviously been working just fine, hence the growth figures in the previous paragraph. As it stands, no one has to ask for permission to put up their own blog or website. No government has the ability or right to tell network operators how they should do their jobs. Quote, technology moves faster than any treaty process, unquote. What has transpired is an extremely rare, if virtual, place for innovation that requires no prior permission from a regulatory or government agency or bureaucrat or governing body. Okay? All right, so far? Former Federal Communications Commission Chairman William McNard pointed out that 90% of cooperative, quote-unquote, peering, P-E-E-R-I-N-G, peering agreements among coexisting networks are, quote, made on a handshake, unquote, adjusting as needs change. Quote, the internet is highly complex and highly technical, yet governments are the only ones making decisions at the ITU, putting the internet at their mercy, unquote. Sally Wentworth of the Internet Society told the Journal recently. She went on to say that the web developers and engineers who make the internet work have said it's, quote, mind-boggling, unquote, that any government, even a so-called world government, would ever claim the universal right to regulate or manage the internet. Quote, technology moves faster than any treaty process ever can, unquote, Internet Society warned. Even if the Obama administration hasn't yet publicly stated its position, liberty-minded officials and lawmakers in Europe, believe it or not, have stepped up to the plate. European Parliament has passed a resolution that protests plans by the ITU to seize control of the internet. Quote, the European Parliament believes that the ITU or any other single centralized international institution is not the appropriate body to assert regulatory authority over either internet governance or internet traffic flows, unquote, says the resolution, which was passed by a majority of EP representatives, reports said. Biggest backers of the regulation include Russia and China, according to Britain's The Guardian newspaper. What's worrying the EP, along with an unlikely coalition of Google, the U.S. Republican Party, organized labor, and Greenpeace, is that the meeting might try and take over the regulatory oversight of the internet communications in a closed-door coup. The United States government has said it will oppose serious moves to change the current regulatory order, but how effective that will be remains to be seen. Quote, the resolution of the Parliament is a big success for internet users. This sends a clear and positive signal to the European Commission and the members states, unquote, said Amelia Andersdotter, MEP for the Pirate Party and co-submitter of the resolution, the Register reported. Some of the biggest backers of the unmitigated internet regulation include, not surprisingly, the authoritarian regimes of Russia and China. As we've said, the internet is truly the last bastion of genuinely free speech and expression, not to mention a tremendous creator of commerce and wealth. Regulating the internet will have exactly the same effect as regulations on industries have had. It will stifle creativity, curb freedoms, kill jobs, and destroy economic growth. We'll be keeping an eye on this very important issue. You can go to naturalnews.com, check out that article, or click on the link on Liberty and Freedom Network on Facebook. It takes you right to it. Wow. Got through that, didn't I? Hey, we're going to take off here. We're going to go away now. We're going to call it a night till tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. You've been listening to me, Reverend Wayne S. Pierce, on the 28th of November 2012 on the Liberty and Freedom Network. This is The Views Expressed, broadcasting live on Spreaker.com. Remember this: we the people have the power, for we are America.